We can start with the ones where the goal is trying to show people items that are either on significant sale and discount, or items that are soon to be discarded from stores, but they're still in good quality. So there are apps like that focus on these types of things, like Flip, so spelled like Flip, but with an extra P. There is Too Good to Go. There is Flash Food, and these types of apps, just give you deals that you otherwise may not have seen, or ones that are more short term, just because they are soon to be discarded. And when it comes to foods that grocery stores are going to be throwing away, we should also remember that this doesn't mean that they've gone bad. This doesn't mean that they're rotten or anything. This means that the store feels that they're unlikely to have it sold due to, it could be something like small blemishes, like on an apple that isn't visually appealing, but it is still something that's safe to eat. It's still something that is nutritious to eat. It's just harder to sell at a profit. So those will be more discounted. Other things aside from standalone apps are just normal apps for grocery stores. They will sometimes have special deals for people that use the apps. The apps may also highlight, again, more just sale items, again, that you otherwise would not have known about. And I think that these are some good areas to start when it comes to more of the digital app side of things.
I like it.
There's even in the store themselves, sometimes there's actually just sections as well that have some of that stuff added. And I am so glad, Matthew, that you mentioned that just because they're on there, that it's not that they're rotting or going bad or anything, because I usually, that's where I'll find bananas that I'm just going to throw into the freezer for smoothies. A great cost, like apples and stuff. That's great. I'm not going to maybe eat them as an apple, but I can cook them down into applesauce for later. So it's more getting past that stigma of those are not great foods because they're not perfect. There's a lot of things you can do with them, or cook them down and freeze them yourself into something as well for later.
Yep. I've used Flip extensively. Phenomenal resource. So then you don't have to go to every grocery store's website to find all their flyers and stuff. If you're a person that goes to multiple stores, is very handy. Very handy. There's even apps for meal planning, if that's your vibe, building food knowledge. My Viva Plan, an app that we use in our practice at Revive a lot with all of our clients. Something that helps people build meal plans very, very quickly and efficiently, but also, if you're looking for ways to prepare lentils as an example, it has some information about that stuff too, and all nice in one place. You don't have to go finding all of that information elsewhere. I know there's other resources for people that are on budgets that are not necessarily just looking to save a little bit of money because food costs are higher and they want to save money for a trip. But there's people that are actually like, they need to be on a budget. That's kind of their circumstances that force their hand at that. Food security being an issue, probably more so now maybe than it ever has been because of food costs. There's a bunch of resources that we can point people towards. Matthew, I think you put this list down here.
Yes, and before I go into some of the resources we'll discuss, I think that one key thing when it comes to these specific community resources is some negative feelings relating to the stigma of using them that I think are important to address. It obviously can be a difficult thing to, maybe you once did not need this and it's more of a new concern when it comes to food costs or when it comes to food security. But it is important to remember that our health and our just having basic necessities are extremely important, and we should not feel that we've done something wrong if we're in a position where we need to use these resources. Shouldn't feel that it's any kind of any kind of problem that they're required. And a second thing that I'd also like to address with some of these resources is relating to eligibility or registration. A lot of these are not going to have an extensive registration process. It's not going to be like a financial audit to make sure that they feel that you really need them. A lot of these resources are going to be open to anyone in need, anyone who feels that they need them, and who is able to reach out to some of these organizations. So one that I will start with is just food banks. So with food banks, at least speaking with the Edmonton Food Bank, they'll have an online registration process that is just answering some questions. Again, it's not going to be very strict criteria in terms of registering. And then, once those are answered, you will hear back about areas near you where you may be able to pick up, and just getting started with that process. Similar to the municipal food banks are some schools, like at the University of Alberta, will have campus food banks specifically for students and others who, again, are experiencing food insecurity. Another one that is going to be in many areas is going to be just places of worship in general. This includes many different religions, and for these areas or for these services, they're not going to require that you be part of their specific religion or their specific denomination of a religion. These resources are simply just open to any members of the public that feel that they are needed. And then, again, depending on other circumstances, there are also some local organizations. Some may be more focused on helping children and youth. Some may be more focused on the elderly. Some may be more for the general public. But they're just resources in different municipalities that serve those who are experiencing financial struggles or food insecurity. There are just a lot of resources out there. And I think just the first step in that is recognizing that there is nothing wrong with, there's nothing morally wrong with needing any of these resources, and it's important to use them when needed, because that is better than just going without food or going without basic needs out of something like embarrassment or stigma.
I think it's really important to recognize that, and that's what they are there for. That is when they're needed for using that. I think they're saying that 2 million people are currently using food banks. That was up by like 60% or something just from the last little while. So we know, just with the economy and everything that's kind of happened, that there is going to be more for that. The other piece I think about when I like food bank and food security also means that if budget is tight, other places as well, not just food then. And some of these places also offer support in that, or links, and to be able to help with other areas, whether that's even access to medication or clothing or whatever, those kind of things. So these can be great hubs to be able to help in other areas. So it's just going. That's my big thing.
Even other people that may be in a similar situation, sharing ideas, tips, knowledge, experiences, or people that have done those types of things. I mean, it's not always the best thing to have more people be in a similar situation of feeling pressure from food insecurity, but at the same time, there's definitely something to say about having a network of people that you can support each other with. All of these things, whether it's people that you're working with like one-on-one at Revive, or people at these food banks, neighbors, schools, places of worship. I mean, all of these things, people are almost always very, very open providing help where they can, even if it's just like hey, I found this thing really cheap at this store. Or there's also people that really are into, or these organizations may, I don't know 100% for sure, may have access to like things like coupons and whatnot, save a couple bucks here and there. And I know if even if people are not always in a situation like this, one of the things, because Andrea, the thing that you mentioned about how common it is to how more common, I should say, it is to use these types of resources. People are always looking for extra help, whether it be volunteers, donations, those types of things. That goes a long way. And I know that these types of organizations, even specific ones like food banks, they have specific ways of using funds in a very, we say, effective way. So that's always something that if you're in a situation where you're not food insecure, maybe more food secure, a couple bucks here and there is something directly to a type of resource like that can go a long way for many people.